Or reactivated yet? I don't know how this will look, but there we go. All right, so the ruins are Ellsworth, Kansas. It's not really, it's like an old farmstead. And by the way, Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, let's get into it, and always turn up the video speed. Let's get into it. By the way, always sub and learn. So, I'm a little drunk here. I figure I'll chug that before I go eat the pasta. This is kind of just a little story of a place I found in my travels when I was trucking. On the I-70 outside of Ellsworth, Kansas, there's a rest area relatively close to it. And going westbound, there's been a few times I've actually parked there at night. Like, I knew I could make it from one location that far. I could calculate the miles. And there's been some times where I've got there where I literally had like a minute left or less than a minute. By the way, the managers hated it when I would do that. They're like, what, but there could be a violation. I'm like, wait, every mile I make makes the last day easier. That's kind of been my rule when I drove truck. If I get to a place, that means the last day is always smooth sailing. And by the way, I'm just doing a recording right now. Pardon me. But the ruins of Ellsworth, Kansas. Now, there's probably a number of other farmsteads that are just the same, but this one happened to be near the westbound rest area. And, you know, you get that 10-hour break. And I was like, okay, well, you know, here I am. Might as well pull over and sleep for the night. But sometimes, you know, a neighboring truck makes a loud noise, or, you know, I'm used to sleeping with a reefer unit running. So for me, that's just kind of the way it goes. And so I'll take these out. Did I still have those equipped? I do. Let's turn that off. So basically, I get up because my dog woke me up, truck, whatever. I'm like 6 hours, maybe 7 hours of sleep. I mean, 6 hours probably. So I got all this time before I can even drive. And so I end up, and it's a weird time because it's like I got there early in the morning. So I basically was sleeping all day just because of the way the load was. And I'm looking around this rest area. It's pretty standard. It's a nice little place in the middle of nowhere. And then I see beyond the fence an old homestead. And I'm like, ain't that something? An old barn and an old grain tower. And I'm like, I want to go look at that. And so I kind of was looking around because there's this big ditch that you kind of cross over. And I figured out that if you go down into the ditch, you know, kind of like, you know, where Seasonal Creek might be, you can kind of get past where they've got like, you know, some cow panels to keep the cows from getting into the rest area. And yeah, you kind of make your way around here, avoid stepping in the water. And then you get to it, and there's like this old bridge, you know, like probably from back before the rest area ever existed. I'm like walking around, and I find this, I don't know if it was a horse or a cow skull. I think it was a horse skull, and you gotta understand, horses are pretty common back then. I kind of regret that I didn't take it, because that would have been pretty sick if I'd put some LED lights in it, you know, like around Halloween, have the skull with the black ice, with like the kind of like different colored lights, red the purple, the blue. But yeah, I'm looking around that place, and I'm looking at the kind of design of this old house. And the house was partially, you know, it was super old. I'm exploring it a little on the sides because it is kind of old and rotted, you know. But a lot of the house was made of that material from the local area. So it was made of this kind of stone that had sea life in it. You know, not like, you know, ages ago there was an ocean there, and then the petrified shellfish, basically, and you'd see it right in the stonework. Back of the house was kind of already falling apart. So and when I looked inside there, I was just kind of peering in here and there. It was a house that was so old that there was no evidence that there was ever power there. It was built back when people settled the land. And I was looking at that house and just thinking, from all the work they put into building the stone. It wasn't a huge place, but it was big enough for a family. This was somebody's little house on the prairie. This was somebody's everything, somebody's dream. And, it was funny. It actually had that green paint, the super toxic paint from way back in the day when it was popular. Not just the lead, but the arsenic that was in it. I could see, I was like, oh, it's that color. So a little bit of fading wallpaper peeling off. And I wanted to go up the stairs, but I'm like, no, not taking that risk, man. It was absolutely beautiful in its own kind of forsaken way. So I looked around and I'm like, well, what's that barn over there? And this was one of those old Sears barns, where you could order it and they send you the kit. And the thing that was really cool about that, the barn was actually in pretty good shape, but on the upper floor, because the way the dirt moved up there, you could get in there and look around, and it was still in pretty good shape. But the underworld, the under part of the barn, where you could basically on the front, you could open up the doors, and I walked into there, and I'm looking at it, going, wow. I mean, real craftsmanship, like you'd see with the Amish or something like that. But I remember looking at it, just thinking every bit of this barn was built with hand labor. I'm like, it was amazing to me, that this, and you got to understand, this was the prairie before there was before we had electricity, when horse and buggy was still a thing, and it's still standing. I don't know if it still is today. It's been a few years since I've been there. But yeah, it was amazing to look at the craftsmanship. And I'm like, well, people really knew what they were doing back then. All with hand tools too. Of course they had nails and the basics, but we're talking Little House on the Prairie technology. After that, I walked over to where the big silo, they have those brick or concrete silos. And I look inside of it, and in the center of it, there was a tree just slowly growing up. I would say it was about maybe 20 feet tall in the center of that silo. And I just thought it was pretty cool because I was looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, once upon a time in this little place of Ellsworth, Kansas, long before there was any concept of oil or gas or electricity, like the wind towers, the wind turbines that you see there, this was not even a dream. These people were building a life out there. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was this time or the other time I went there, I just went hiking up towards the wind towers. And I didn't really, did I get to one or did I not? I don't remember. But I remember I walked way the hell up the hill and I found the place that they quarried the stone out for the house and probably the foundation for the barn. And I could just sit there and really appreciate how much work went into someone building a life out there. No electricity, no oil and gas, maybe oil lanterns, no propane, natural gas, anything like that. Just how amazing that was. And just to think people scratched out an existence and all the things in the time that house has been there. And, last time I went through there, the house, part of the front end had fallen down, storms. It's probably been there for 150 years or longer. Lord knows how long it's been abandoned. But yeah, all the things that house had seen, all the things that little homestead had seen. And I'm sitting there standing up on the hill and I'm just looking at the majesty of Kansas. It's absolutely beautiful. Went back to the truck and took an afternoon nap. And then basically I, started my day up sometime in the night, purposely. And people are like, why? Well, if you start up at a certain hour and you're fresh with your sleep, you can basically, you get that second wind when the sun comes up. But yeah, it's just one of those little places I've seen in America that was amazing. So I don't know. That's just a story. Y'all take it easy, like, subscribe. Trying to get up to 925 right now, just trying to build up the channel because, why not? Why not want to do a try for it? So, peace.